Yep.
We're nerds.
I know. Horrible, horrible nerds.
All right. So are you ready?
All
So
right,
here's
let's do
what we're
this.
thinking. Let me see how that looks over on StreamYard. Let's see if I can blow that up a little bit more. And here's what we're going to do tonight now. I just don't want those ads sometimes blow up the more I blow these up.
Yeah, so far, just keep zooming on. And,
there we go. There we go.
That looks great.
How's it look?
Looks great.
Great. Okay. So if you've never done this before on the tier rankings, what we're going to do is go through each film. Now, Tyler, do you want to do this one at a time? Like I go, you go, or do you want to try to like come up with a collective, argument for each movie?
I say let's try to argue with each other about where it should be placed, and we try to come to an agreement on where it should be. Of course, my opinion should be weighted more heavily, and so that should definitely be taken into consideration. But I think, we'll come to an agreement, meaning whatever I decide at the end of the day is where the movie goes. I think if we just do something like that, we're going to have a good time.
Yeah. And so what you have is the appearance of power, but what I have is actual power because
you actually have control.
I have control over where the movies go. So you feel free to say whatever you want. Maybe we take each movie and we do a little compliment sandwich where we say something nice and then maybe we say something negative, but we come back and finish with something nice. And then we try to figure out where to put this thing on the tier list. Basically S-class means special. Like it is a special top tier movie. And then of course, A, B, C, D. And I don't think we should try to pigeonhole ourselves. Let's the chat, please do chime
definitely
in.
Get the chat in here. Yep. So we want to hear what you guys think too. And so we should kind of do is like all collectively. So Justin and I will kind of talk, see if we're just in total agreement, if we're having a debate. You guys chime in and we'll kind of collectively decide where these movies should go. So let's should we what about that?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. And so now let's see here. We're gonna scroll down. Now, a couple of these, the specials are listed in here. We're gonna ignore those. So we're gonna do the Skywalker Saga, Rogue One, Solo, and we'll do the Clone Wars movie. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna rank the little special holiday specials. So, should we do these in order? Like
episode 1.
Yeah, I mean, like, should we do in
chronological order?
Yeah, chronological order. That's what I was trying to say.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So then let's start right off with episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So now we're just going to scroll up here and try to get this on the screen. And I'm just going to hover this. I'm going to start it in special class just so we can all see it. Now.
Right. So we should kind of clarify what do each of these positions kind of mean to us, right? So like, S just means absolutely your favorite, great, nearly perfect movie. That's where S gets rated. Again, stop me if you disagree.
You don't have to spread them out. Like you don't have to only have one S movie. You could think 5 movies are S movies.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Special, epic, all-time movies. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. And then your D, it's not like D is necessarily a movie you absolutely despise or you think is terrible, but it's going to be ranked as that's your least favorite, right? You're not going to really enjoy that one. You see too many flaws, whatever it be, right? You don't like the pacing. And so it's mainly it. And then we'll kind of try to slip them in here as we go, but we should really try to space them out. So I think what we should try to hold ourselves to is we should have at least one movie in every single category, right? We shouldn't just bunch them all in S or D or anything. We should make sure that we've got a nice spread. How does that sound?
Okay, I think we can do that. Yeah, I think we can do. So then we're going to have to make amendments at some point. So we might put a movie somewhere, but then go back and say, okay, we might have to do some readjusting. So let's just initially put everything where we want to put it, and then if it ends up that we don't have a movie in a certain letter, then we start moving it from there. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Templar obviously is a big Jar Jar Binks fan. Ooza nooza. So he's he clearly wants that to be a special, obviously.
Okay. So why doesn't everyone give us, what letter are you thinking?
The Last Jedi is a double S.
Double S movie. Wow. Okay. So Justin, can you position that even above S? Maybe just next to our logo up there for The Last Jedi.
Super duper S. So, okay. Let's start with Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Let's see if we can come up with a compliment sandwich. Each of us. Let's see if we can each do this. Okay. I will say something good. Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson, great. Absolute great. He did a phenomenal job. He played his role well as Obi-Wan's mentor. Really liked it. Negative, I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit and just say Jar Jar Binks. No one likes him. I don't hate him as much as a lot of people do. I don't think he was as awful a character as, some people say he's racist. It's like, I just think he's just kind of supposed to be the dumb alien character, and it just didn't really hit home for a lot of people. But I'm leaving a few other negatives in there that a lot of people at least would think would be negatives. And then another positive, I guess, I'll go with the lightsaber Duel of the Fates. The lightsaber battle at the end with Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul was really, really epic. The score during that scene was just epic. So there's my compliment sandwich for episode 1. What do you got?
So I would say Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan, you went to Qui-Gon Jinn. Definitely. Obi-Wan, also fantastic in that one. A negative, smelly dog farts. Just smelly dog farts all the way. So I would say a negative would be Jake Lloyd. Unfortunately, is not good in the movie. Not his fault, right? I mean, you've got to blame that on direction or casting or whatever. But my God, just not very good. So many moments where you're like, whew, that is cringeworthy. So I'd say that's a negative. And then another positive to me, I thought that the pod racing was a fun scene. I think the pod racing is a very memorable scene. I thought it was cool. It was a great idea. So I thought that was pretty neat. So to me, there's a lot to like here, right? There's a lot of really fun moments that are just kind of sometimes ruined by a few unfortunate characters, some bad acting, some pacing issues. So is it a perfect movie? I'd say no. But yeah, I would agree. It's not like the whole thing was absolutely crippled by a character like Jar Jar or something like some people would say.
No, I don't think so. I actually like this movie. I really do. Like, I do not dislike it. Like I shouldn't say I don't dislike any Star Wars movies, but you're right, Ray. Now this is pod racing. And it applies in all aspects of life. It literally applies in all aspects of life. There you go. Now this is pod racing. But one of the other big negatives, at least I never really hated this, but so many people despise it, and it's midichlorians, the introduction of midichlorians as these microscopic life forms that control the Force. And again, all that really is just being more scientific about how the Force works and why it's stronger in certain individuals than others, because they're just creating a scientific explanation for it. And people think it takes the magic out of it. I don't really care. Like, that one episode of Community. Magic. The one episode of Community where Abed is standing outside the movie theater warning kids not to go in and watch it because of midichlorians.
Right.
It's like, that's a little over the top. I mean,
I don't know. It's just kind of one little side thing that seemed to really ruin it for a lot of people. But I think it kind of adds to some compelling narratives down the road, like the fact that because Vader had his limbs chopped off, that actually meant he was weaker in the Force than he otherwise would be, and that things like Force lightning were essentially impossible for him because it made it too difficult to conjure after losing his limbs and stuff. It's like, that's kind of interesting because based on how midichlorians work. The other thing is then the midichlorians make it a little more easy to understand why lineages seem to matter. Like, why do we care so much about the Skywalkers if anyone can just be strong in the Force because it's more of just a spiritual thing? Then that doesn't make as much sense. But if it is midichlorians, it's kind of something in the blood, then it would make more sense that you're kind of following these bloodlines.
I agree.
But either way, it's not like it's a huge part of the story at any point. So
I think no one is claiming for this to be an S-class movie, nor do I think anyone thinks it's a D. Templar, I think, said he thought a C. I am okay with having episode 1 as a solid B.
I would say a B is good. I'm going to say I thought C is a little too low because I enjoy the movie. I still think it's a fun movie despite its flaws. So yeah, I would say B. I mean, how does the chat feel about that? Does B, C seem pretty good? Ray says S. We can essentially always guarantee that wherever Ray says he wants it to be, that's where no one else on Earth
We're
wants it to
nowhere
be.
near where it should be. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, Templar is good with a
he's,
B.
he's good with a B. So let's stick with episode 1 as
Yeah, Pop
B
says
tier.
B.
Okay. Pop says good with a B. We're good with a B. Let's move right along, and we are going to grab episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
That's my Oprah introduction. That's not bad.
And you get a car. All right.
You get a movie. You get a movie. So
all right. So compliment sandwich.
2.
So I'll start on this one, I
first.
guess, right? For a compliment sandwich here.
Okay.
So what do I like best about Attack?
The compliment sandwich.
The compliment sandwich. Well, I mean, if you want to go first again, you can. I mean, to me, really, the major downside in this one is some really rough dialogue, and the love scenes.
You got to do it the right way. Do it the right way. Compliment sandwich.
Oh,
wait,
sure.
Save that. I'll let you keep that one as your.
Okay. You go ahead then. So tell me what you think. What are your favorite moments? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, boy, I have 2 in particular, and they're both going to revolve around one of my favorite Star Wars characters. So
because you're gonna say, of course, one of the best.
Well, I'm going to say good. Yoda saving the day in the battle arena on Geonosis when they look like they are defeated, and Dooku apologizes to Mace Windu and says, "I'm sorry, old friend." And the battle droids lock and load. And then here comes this gigantic ship flying down. And then there's Yoda on his cane, just on the ship.
Right.
And how he just calls for a perimeter and just swoops in, saves the last 100 Jedi that are alive, and just boom, they're out of there. The Jedi even survived past that moment because of Yoda. Yoda just keeps doing it. He just keeps doing it.
And on that same note, for my first positive, I would say Yoda coming in, chasing Dooku, and saving Anakin and Obi-Wan, leading to the lightsaber duel, is just one of the coolest things ever.
Well, that was going to be the end of my compliment sandwich. But,
right. Well, we're kind of we're both complimenting the sandwich together, right? We'll make the sandwich together, one slice of bread at a time. So yeah, I mean the Yoda versus Dooku thing, that was just mind blowing. I remember seeing that in theaters, and it just gave me chills. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Helped reinvigorate my passion for Star Wars. I think we had talked about similarly for you, because that was just the coolest thing ever. Watching Yoda fly around like that was absolutely awesome.
It's so awesome. I mean, both the Yoda scenes were so great. And again, that lightsaber duel, you said that lightsaber duel, that is again what just it reinvigorated me. I remember watching that in the theater and just being like, what? Yoda's gonna fight, and how he just force pulls the lightsaber, and then how he is just spinning around like a ninja and jumping off it was so well done. It literally was just so well done. And we talked about this before. The only thing is just it's too short, and I get why it's too short, because he's totally digitally animated, so it's a little more difficult doing it with a live action actor. But boy, had they just added a little more to that lightsaber duel, another 20 or 30 seconds, it just seems like it could have been really probably the second best lightsaber duel behind Anakin and Obi-Wan and Revenge of the Sith, probably.
Exactly. But it's hard to rank when you're ranking all of the lightsaber duels. It's hard to put too high because it's so short. How do you really compare that to Obi-Wan and Anakin, where it just feels like a drama is unfolding during the lightsaber duel, right? Same with Vader versus Luke and Empire Strikes Back, right? It just feels like they go on so much longer. There's so much up and down, so much story that's unfolding during these scenes that it's just hard to put it in the same category, even though it had the potential, because it's one of the coolest, as far as the intricacy of what they're doing with the lightsabers, but it's just so short. You barely get a taste of it. You're just kind of being overwhelmed by how cool it is, and then it ends as soon as you're getting a taste for it. So that I would say is disappointing with it. And then of course, so then our negative, getting into it, is the Anakin Padme love story is unfortunately not very well done.
Oh boy. Yeah,
it's it.
George Lucas has admitted after the fact that he's not a very good writer. He has said that. He's like, yeah, I'm not a very good writer. I didn't write that stuff very well.
See, but this brings us to what we were talking about earlier. Well, imagine if you had some people, and weren't just Star Wars people, but just some good writers around
who are with George to be well, here's what you need in a love connection.
Exactly. You wouldn't need them to know anything about Star Wars to help him write a better love story and better dialogue that would get all that across, right? You would just need someone who's a good writer, because none of that's really, important for the larger epic at hand. You're just trying to create an emotional connection between these two characters for the larger story. And he didn't do a very effective job of that. And if he had some better writers along with him, maybe he could. Because as we all know, George is a world builder, right? That's what he is great at.
Of course he is.
Creating these worlds.
Of course he is.
But he misses some of that craft with writing and dialogue. Yeah.
Well, he does. And like Templar says, the chemistry between them. So, I mean, like, literally think about what happens in this movie. Like, think about, he shows up to protect her. And she's like, you'll always be that little boy I knew on Tatooine. Next thing you know, he's staring her down with the super creepiest grin and lines, to the point where she's like, stop looking at me like that. You make me uncomfortable.
Right.
And then you keep moving on. And then he's afraid for his mother, so she feels bad for him. And then he murders an entire population of Tusken Raiders. And he tells her that he murdered the men, the women, and the children. He killed them all. And then they get caught on Geonosis, and she's like, I truly, deeply love you.
I know, it's the weirdest thing, man.
And you're like, what? But why though? But why?
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah, it's so awkward, and it's not helped by performances from either one of them. Kind of like what Templar said, there no chemistry whatsoever. And again, the acting is just is rough to get through at times. And this is where I've heard someone point this out before too, where some of the dialogue might not even have been that bad in better hands. So for instance, like the famous I don't like sand comment that everyone makes fun of. They're like, a good actor could have taken that line and made it sound just fine. And like a normal conversation they were having, they're like, the way it's delivered is so rough. And they're like, and it's not like it's amazing dialogue to begin with. But if you look at, say, what Ewan McGregor did with some of the dialogue, where it's like, yeah, that's not great dialogue, but he delivers it as best as you possibly could. And so it makes it totally fine, acceptable. You like it. You like Obi-Wan, because he's just delivering it better, right? In more believable ways. So just a lot of things went wrong there. So for that reason alone, I just feel like that is such a low. I'd probably rank it below Phantom Menace. That would be me. I'd probably put this as a C.
Oh man,
but it has
so
some
tough for me, because I think that this movie has S tier moments.
I know.
Again, the Yoda saving the Geonosis battle scene is great.
Mace Windu showing up.
Mace Windu showing up. Yeah, I get goosebumps when he walks out from behind that room and the music plays, dun 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 dun, and you see him just a shadow, and then he walks and boom, lightsaber in front of Jango. His conversation with Dooku, like really, I just love that whole scene. I really do. And like, I've gone back and forth on this. And for a lot of people, you watch a lot of ranking videos. Most people rank Attack of the Clones towards the bottom, or as one of the worst Star Wars movies. Again, when we say worst, we just mean not as good as the others.
Again, like for me, D doesn't have to mean it's the worst movie. You can still like a movie we put in the D slot. It just means it's your least favorite of the Star Wars movies, but we're still watching them all. Right? Yeah. We've watched them all a million times. Yeah.
And so, the thing with, again, this is just the movie that turned me when I was 19 or whatever years old, and it got me into it, and it got me buying all the action figures that are all over the bar down here. And it's all because of those scenes in Geonosis and the battle with Yoda. And those are the things that did it for me. So I'm going to put this, I want this as an A-class movie. Whoa. I think it has S-tier moments. And I would agree to an A, because the romantic scenes with Anakin and Padme are almost unwatchable.
I would what about a B as a compromise then? What do people in the chat think? Oh, well, they're standing on A. So
I think Templar, look at here. Templar says he's going A. It produced the amazing animated series, and it pushes it over the B line for him.
But I would say, but you can't, at least in my opinion, I would say we can't judge it based on, what was created afterwards. So let's focus on the movie itself. Where should we rank it? If you think it's an A, then I'd say, okay, then if that's what people are going with, I'd say probably a B. Again, I just feel like you're probably right that the highs are even higher than Phantom Menace.
Oh, I think.
But I also feel like the lows are lower too. And
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
So like to me, maybe that balances it out to around an A or a B.
Let's put this in the B. I feel like we're gonna end up
everything's just gonna be a B.
Everything.
I don't think so.
We're gonna have 12 B movies.
I don't think so. We'll
no.
And again, we'll keep adjusting as we go. Okay, so Templar said he concedes to B. He thinks that's fair. So okay, so but Popsis says A. So we might have to reevaluate that one as we keep going. We'll see how everything kind of falls, and we'll shuffle it around a little bit.
Okay. See, Popsith says A too. I'm telling you, I just think there's so many good moments. The Dooku battle with Obi-Wan and Anakin before the battle with Yoda.
But the whole thing is we're kind of talking about all these scenes that happen in that short time. Like the Geonosis stuff, I am right there.
You're still talking like 45-ish minutes.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. It's significant. Yep. So again, the lows are so low, but yeah, well, we can circle back to that. Maybe if based on how these other ones get ranked, maybe we decide, you know what, that one does deserve to be pushed up a little bit. But all right. What do we have next here?
So we're moving on here. We're moving on to Revenge of the Sith, right?
Okay.
So episode 3 now, Revenge of the Sith. Now this, for a lot of people, is one of their highest ranked. A lot of people rank this very high. So compliment sandwich, Tyler.
Okay.
You started first, Revenge of the Sith, compliment sandwich. What do you got?
I mean, of course, you got to go with Anakin versus Obi-Wan. One of the most epic lightsaber duels ever. I could watch that over and over on repeat. Like I said before, it's not just how great the dueling is between them. It's like a drama unfolding between them as their relationship is crumbling, as well as, their Obi-Wan dealing with the fallout of realizing that his Padawan, his friend, his brother, right, someone he's mentored for all these years, has literally just fallen to the dark side in the worst way possible, right? It's not like he just turned to the dark side and decided he was going to start working for the Emperor. Like, he was killing kids, man. He's just out there killing kids. Could you even imagine that?
Out there killing kids, bro.
I mean, he's just he's slaughtering younglings. It's insane. And the way Obi-Wan sells it, I just love it. The scene, of course, everyone makes fun of the high ground moment, but when he's up there after he cuts him down and is yelling, you were my brother. I mean, my goodness.
Yes,
those scenes
that is great.
Are amazing. So, I mean, that for me, one of the high points of the whole saga.
Okay.
Compliment sandwich. Did you want to do your high? I thought we were going to go together.
Well, I was going to say you can go high, low, high, but I'll do a low. I'll do a low.
Okay.
Now this is something that we have talked about, and it's grown on us more and more and more. But I will say overacting, particularly by Ian McDiarmid and Palpatine. Now, again, we have both said that the more and more time goes by and the more we watch it, we are kind of more okay with it. But there are times when, despite the epic moments, watching Palpatine's overacting, Ian McDiarmid's overacting, with the no, like over the top, right. A lot of that is kind of silly, and I'll even just say in general, as I'm trying to kind of pick apart some negatives, I don't know if you'd call these plot holes, but again, things we've talked about before. Okay, so let's go into Palpatine's office, right? Yoda shows up. I've got a few problems with how this scene goes down. One, right? Dooku has shot Force lightning at Yoda before, and Yoda caught it immediately and flung it back at him. Right? And then he shot it again and he caught it and just absorbed it.
Yeah.
Palpatine is talking and he's like, you'll experience the full power. And then he does it and Yoda's like, what? And then it hits him and flings him against the wall. And then it's not like Palpatine does anything. He just sits there and cackles.
For a long time.
And it's like, what's happening? And then Yoda force pushes him. And then he's ready just to run away. But then this scene, Palpatine gets up after falling very awkwardly over his chair. That scene was that was kind of weird. He just like somersaults towards the door and goes to like strut through the door. And then Yoda jumps in front and he's like, what? Like, Yoda, where'd you come from? Like Yoda totally cut his path off. Like he was just going to strut down the hallway and Yoda was going to be like, oh, he left.
Yeah, I know there's a couple weird moments like that with Yoda and then with Palpatine where it's like, how did they both not see these things coming?
Come on,
right? Like that's a little weird, but I don't know. Forgivable mistakes. Their battle in the Senate chambers is just awesome, right? I mean, I just absolutely amazing, which I would put as a big positive. Again, I just thought that fight was sweet. I do wish, as a lot of people said, there were more like force powers used. I think it's a little disappointing that like Palpatine is just chucking all of the boxes at Yoda, which is sweet. But then like Yoda stops one and takes forever to like take the time to spin it, and same thing. He's just kind of sitting up there, just cackling. He's just cackling, and then it finally goes flying back to him. But it's like what would have been sweet is if Yoda was also just started chucking the platforms at him, and they're just kind of both using their force powers to chuck them all out. Like that would have been sweet. So that's a real missed opportunity. That's too bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. A couple of missed opportunities. I have complained about the Force lightning scene when Yoda first gets him, and I'm like, all they have to do to make that scene make sense, rather than Yoda be like, what? Force lightning? I've never seen this before, and get knocked against the wall. All he has to do is try to absorb it like he did with Dooku and have it just like overpower him because it's Palpatine. And he's super powerful. And then Yoda goes flying against the wall. Now Yoda knows he can't really block the Force lightning from Palpatine. It's like it makes it a different fight. Like there's so many better ways to do that. So I'm just picking apart little things.
Everybody calm down.
Yeah, everybody calm down. I'm just trying to pick apart little things, making bringing up the negatives in order to, because I'm going to defend that this movie is not an S-class movie. I know that Rey has already said S tier. Templar has already said S tier. I think Popseth has maybe even already said S tier. And
I mean, I was ready to say S as well. I mean, this is probably one of my favorites. And again, just because I do think there's a lot of little flaws like that, kind of in every section of the movie. There's some things that like you wish they would have done a little differently.
Yeah.
But it's just there is so much action, so much going on the entire time. Like the opening of this movie, one of the best space battles in the entire saga, right? I mean, the opening of the movie is fantastic. Really cool scene. Right when they fly into Grievous's ship.
Just the opening camera angle, how they pan down over the war over Coruscant.
Yep. Yeah, and then really, just looking down, you see all the action happening, flying through that, going into Grievous's ship, trying to get to Palpatine was awesome. Then, right in the get-go, you have the fight with Dooku, trying to get Palpatine out of there. The middle of the movie, right, is the arrest of Palpatine, which is awesome. And again, there's the problem with how does Palpatine kill people like Aegon Kolar and, Kit Fisto and Saesee Tiin so quickly is really upsetting. Yeah, but at the same time, the fight between him and Palpatine is awesome. I absolutely love it. I love when they're strolling down the hallway to come arrest him. I think it's freaking sweet. That's only the midpoint, right? Then, so then you have Yoda versus Palpatine. You've got Obi-Wan versus Anakin. I just feel like, man, there's so much that goes on in this movie. Again, it could have been two movies very easily. So with so many key iconic moments, for me, it's an S. So make your case on why you think it wouldn't be an S.
Well, I think I've kind of already done that. I've already picked it apart a lot. I would just say, again, I don't know if you would call these plot conveniences or plot holes, but I would say acting at times. Now, acting is good in Revenge of the Sith too, mostly Ewan McGregor. And we talk about him all the time. Ewan McGregor took what was not the best dialogue in the world and really sold it, especially like you said, the high ground aside, I think that's dumb. But how he acts and what he says to Anakin after he wins the battle is emotional. It's one of the most emotional moments maybe in Star Wars is him like kind of crying at Anakin, about like, having to make, why would you have to make me do this? Like what? Right. You were the chosen one. You were all this, and he sells it. But again, like just the high ground in general. If you're Anakin and he's like, I had the high ground, I'd be like, okay, well, I can just walk onto the mountain too, and then we can keep fighting. It's not because you're on a slight angle I'm going to lose the battle. Like I was just fighting you while we were swinging on top of each other on a thing, and then I just jumped 200 feet on a falling platform. And now you're telling me I can't jump 10 feet over your head. It's just those little things where I just feel like George Lucas and other people like wrote themselves into a corner, and then they just had to end it in some weird way. And they did. And we've talked about this before where like you slow things down for the audience. I feel like they had to slow that moment down for the audience. Like they're now we've got to slow it down. And there has to be this epic ending. I've got the high ground. You underestimated power. No, see, you shorted it. You shorted the jump. And
Right,
I
you're
can't
short of the
figure out
jump.
how to go.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea was supposed to be they wanted it to be, Anakin's arrogance that really does him in at the end. So it was supposed to be he knew that he was in an unwinnable position, but still does it anyway because he just thinks he's so powerful it won't matter. But they unfortunately didn't do a good enough job of selling that was really the position that he was in. But if you buy that, the rest of the duel is absolutely amazing. Right after that moment is absolutely incredible. So I don't know. I can look past it. So how do we feel in chat? What is everyone is everyone going A, S, B? What's everyone thinking here?
Well, I think I'm outnumbered. I think basically it's been a unanimous S tier, with the exception of me, and I'm only calling for it to be brought down to an A tier. So I think for now we have to leave Revenge of the Sith at an S tier. I think we have to. So
okay, all right. Let's move on to our next one.
All right, so moving right on, we're on to A New Hope. Now, Tyler, fun fact about about A New Hope. I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if you heard about this.
No.
But A New Hope, despite being titled Episode 4, was actually the first Star Wars movie to be released in the theater.
Let's just keep recreating that every time. Oh wow, I had never heard that before. That's insane. I don't think that's right. Why would they do that? It's episode 4.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. I think Justin's confused about stuff.
People.
Pop Sith is trying to say. Wait, Pop Sith, are you trying to say A New Hope is a D? Is that what Pop Sith is out here saying? I don't know about that.
So now here's the thing: we didn't establish a criteria for how we are ranking these, right? We, because I think that matters. Like, are we doing this in terms of like objectively how good and great and cool were these movies in the moment, and what did they mean in the moment, and how, because that matters versus, for example, I could just say, okay, it's a Saturday night and the family's gone and I'm going to grab a beer and watch a movie. Which one would I watch first because I like it the most versus which one would I watch last?
Right. So, I think rewatchability should absolutely be weighted in there, but I think we also need to keep the originals in context, right? Yeah. Like, I think it matters that these movies were made in the 70s and 80s, and you have to look at, okay, but, not only are they still great, fun movies to watch, but of course they were still, it was made in the 70s and 80s. We should take that into account and what it meant there. At least that's my feeling. I mean, let me know what everyone else is thinking. Or should we just rank it based on rewatchability nowadays?
Yeah, no, I think you've got to be more open to a wide range of criteria. And I think what the movie matters subjectively, I think we should be ranking it based off of, again, not just what other people think, but how we think the movie would stack up like over time and what it meant at the time it came out. Right. And so for me, the original Star Wars has to be an S-class movie. It just has to be an S-tier movie. It started everything. Everything came. The reason Star Wars is what it is, the reason we're still talking about it, right, 44 years later, is because of how iconic it was. And the special effects and everything. And so nothing exists if that movie sucked. And because that movie was so incredible back then, that's why we're even here. It created Darth Vader. It created everything.
Yep. I know. I love hearing the stories about when George had kind of his early cuts that were being shown to a bunch of studio executives and stuff. And I mean, this is early on. They didn't even have like,
didn't they all hate it?
No. The executives like loved it, were blown away by it when he showed it to them. There was one executive that when he saw it for the first time, cried and went home and told his wife, like, remember this moment, because we're going to be talking about this movie for the rest of our lives. Like, he said he had just never seen anything like it. And you have to remember, like, because nothing like that had existed at the time. It just changed everything so much. And, it was just a fascinating story. You did actually have some good acting there, too. Alec Guinness was nominated for an Academy Award for his supporting role there. And again, the world building for that first movie. It's crazy to think about how many things were brought in there. So, yeah, it'd be hard to not rank that as an S. So, I mean, compliment sandwich time, Just. I mean, what do you think? What are some of your favorite moments here, or some of the downsides?
Well, number one is cinematography. You know, all of the special effects things, again, groundbreaking.
Yeah, right from that opening on the Tantive 4 is just like, wow. I mean, think
Yeah.
about how mind-blowing it would have been to see that in 77. Like, it's just absolutely epic. Yep.
Again, I will say something negative. I'm going to say lack of emotion.
Mm,
And mostly in Mark Hamill, who I really do love. Like, I would even say, like, initially I was okay with Mark Hamill, and I've kind of grown to like love him more over the years, especially after the sequels came out, and like how he
mhm.
reacted to the sequels, and you could see how much he cared about Luke Skywalker and you know, his defense of the character. But you know, like moments with him where with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, where it's like he comes back to find them burned to death as skeletons, which should be
Right.
for the people that raised him essentially as, you know, his parents, uh,
Mhm.
a traumatic experience. And he's like, Obi-Wan, take me with you. Teach me how to be a Jedi, because I don't have anything here now. Like,
Right.
it's like, wow, he really got over that
Right.
burning to death of his parents slash aunt and uncle, like immediately in 2 seconds.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
kind of it's missing some of those moments from like more of a typical movie where you'd spend a little more time on characterization, on fleshing out the characters a little bit more about who they are and stuff. And yeah, we're missing a bit of that in A New Hope. But you have so much other stuff going on that again, too, you think about seeing that for the first time after never seeing anything like it before in
yeah,
the 70s. Like I just can't even imagine an experience like that. So um yeah, but you know, the trench run, like my goodness, one of the coolest things you can possibly think of. What a great idea, executed unbelievably well, given how they
it
did it,
was.
like layering, you know, all the different film strips that they're exposing in different ways, and they'd have like 30 layers of exposure to try to create these. Just unbelievable, so cool, done so well. What a great idea. So yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be S, right? I mean, do we have anyone who thinks it shouldn't be an S? Do we have any other votes in there?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this is
Oh,
definitely. I just
good
popped that
evening,
up
sir.
with Abbott
Oh, I didn't
Unboxing
even see
Treasures.
it.
Yeah, Unboxing Treasures is on. What's going on? We are doing a little ranking of the Star Wars movies, talking it through in a little compliment sandwich style. And yeah, I think there's no reason to go any further. A New Hope is an S tier movie.
Cool.
Good.
All
All
right, let's
right.
do it. What's next?
Moving on. The Empire Strikes Back. Actually, we're not doing this chronologically because we skipped
Oh yeah, technically
Solo and Rogue
we
One. So we'll come
yeah
back to those. We'll come
yeah
back to
we'll
those.
circle back.
So here we
T-
go. We are at The Empire Strikes Back now.
yeah, to me this is an easy one. This should absolutely be a D. Terrible movie. No, I mean this is one of my favorites. The Empire Strikes Back is to me. Took everything good about the first one and just made it even better. You know, notably one of the greatest sequels of all time, right up there with Terminator 2, which is one of my favorite sequels as well.
Great
But I
sequel.
mean, like, it is a great. That is a
Yep.
great sequel. But Empire Strikes Back, I mean, it's just one of the greatest sequels ever. Irving Kershner did a great job of like one of the cons we talked about with A New Hope is that lack of characterization, of kind of emotional connection between the characters. That's all fixed in Empire. You get more character development, more of an exploration of the relationships between these characters, between
Oh,
Han and Leia,
especially
between Han and
between
Luke,
Vader and Luke. And I mean,
between Vader and Luke. Yep.
yeah.
Just fantastic. The action, the set pieces. I love that movie. I think it's just so absolutely fantastic. So I think no doubt in my mind, it's an S. I mean, does anyone else have any other argument for where it should be? Or should we just
I don't think
stick
they
a
can.
fork in it? It's done.
Yeah, I think everyone's on board with this being an S tier movie. You know, we might have even seen a Han Solo and Princess Leia sex scene had it not been for C-3PO interrupting Tyler because he did what?
So, because Justin, he isolated the reverse power flux coupling, and
That's
he needed to
correct.
tell Han about it, and that's really too bad because yeah, we would have. I think George was planning on full penetration to actually show on screen, but then C-3PO pops in and just ruins it all. And gosh, that we
Well,
missed our chance.
yeah, that was happening off screen because apparently did you like hear about like these like recently before Carrie Fisher died that she published these memoirs
Mhm.
that said that she had an affair with Harrison Ford during A New Hope while they were filming A New
Oh,
Hope.
oh, really?
Yeah. And like they both kept it a secret for like 35 or 40 years.
Oh, geez. No,
And
I
then
didn't even hear about this.
she published a memoir basically detailing her affair with Harrison Ford during that movie for like 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, wow, that makes perfect sense. And
That's so crazy.
and then
I had an affair with Harrison Ford at that exact same time. Wow,
you did?
that guy gets around. We must
He
have had a
really does.
crazy like love triangle thing going on.
He
Wow, that's
really
weird.
does get around. And it's a good thing Frederick does not fact check our Wednesday Night Lives.
Oh man.
Oh man, the hydro spanner. That's right. That's the little tool there that Chewbacca, right, is using. Is that the one that he's using, or is that the one Han asks for?
That's the one Han asked for, because they're trying to figure out what's wrong with the hyperdrive. And he's talking about maybe it's the horizontal boosters, maybe it's the alluvial damper, and then he asks for the hydro spanner.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, I think we're just going to leave that one, The Empire Strikes Back, right there as an S. And now we've got 3 S-tier movies. Now remember, everyone, we said we're going to try to fit a movie into each category. And so
we're gonna have to make some adjustments.
Yeah, right now we're having a hard time here, but now we have to move into the finale of the original trilogy, Return of the Jedi, as I believe that's how you say it, the Jedi. Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi. So, compliment sandwich time. Something good, something bad, something good to finish, Tyler. What's good about Return of the Jedi?
I mean, right in the beginning, I love seeing Jabba's palace and seeing Jabba.
I did too. Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I actually agree with a lot of people that it makes you kind of hate that you see him in A New Hope, that they added him there, because it would have been a better reveal that the first time you see this Jabba character, you don't know what he looks like and you don't really know who he is. And you see him and he's just this huge lumbering, looks like a giant turd, right? Just eating his patty frogs all day and stuff and smoking his hookah pipe. Like, it's great. I love the dirty kind of environment that's there. Very, very cool. So I think right off the bat, to me, it just starts with kind of a cool feel. The Sarlacc stuff is so cool. So I love that opening. What about you to start with one of the positives?
Well, I do like that. I love the scene on Tatooine. I like how they open. I love the Jabba reveal when Leia rescues Han and, and takes him out, and how all of a sudden you just hear, oh.
They just pull out, like move the shower curtain.
I love that. And how Han's just like, what's that? I know that laugh. And then they flip the curtain back and the whole clan is there and Jabba's just yucking it up. Like, oh, you thought you fooled me. We've just been waiting for you the whole time. And I love the laugh. I love that reveal. Just a really, really great scene. Like that one.
Yep. Absolutely. What about downsides? I mean, you're going to go with the Ewoks as kind of the low-hanging fruit there.
Yeah, and I don't hate the Ewoks. As we've said about the Porgs and some of the other things, they're just adorable little merchandising opportunities, and I get why you put things like that in the movie. Now, to think that somehow some little Ewok little teddy bears are going to be using rocks and logs to defeat ATSTs and smashing them in is a little far-fetched. It's a little far-fetched.
Sure.
And I guess I'll even say the plot. And so another negative for me in Return of the Jedi, despite the fact that I really like the movie.
Yeah.
I like Luke's development. I love how Luke carries himself and how you can see how much he's matured. And I love his scenes with Vader. I love his scenes with the Emperor on the Death Star. But I'm going to say the plot of just there being another Death Star 2. And now apparently,
but hey, dude, this one's like 400% bigger. Justin.
Yeah, well, wait till you get to Star Killer Base 30 years later.
You don't even believe the size of that piece.
But it's like at some point, just give me an original idea. Now, I heard that like initially, the Death Star being exploded and destroyed was going to be the end of the trilogy. Like that's initially what Lucas had planned, was like the whole movie, and then like the Death Star is blown up. But they felt like the first movie just needed more. It needed a bigger ending. It needed a bigger bang. And so that's why they actually blew it up. But then they, build another one, and then you blow that one up. And it's like, okay, we just did this. We just blew up a Death Star. And so, and then The Force Awakens is like, but what if?
What if
JJ's like,
that one it's
what if we paid
400%
homage
bigger than that second
and we
one?
did a bigger Death Star, but
Right.
we call it Star Killer Base because it's a planet that we turned into a base.
Right.
And it
I
can blow
heard
up
some.
multiple planets that you can see the laser blasts from anywhere in the galaxy.
Yeah, I heard some people talking about like the Emperor's like, I need 2 pools, and so he needs to have it even bigger, so he has more pools and space and inside this Death Star. And like, yeah, like that's the problem with the Death Star is that it just wasn't big enough. It's not that it has this internal flaw where it can be blown up with a couple proton torpedoes. Just make the whole thing bigger.
Bigger.
Now you can just fly a spaceship through the ports, making it even easier to blow up. How do they not think of that? I don't know. We're not going to think about it too much. I mean, the one thing they do right is it looks cool, right? It looks really awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little disappointing that it's just kind of another Death Star. And again, we'll circle back to this argument again very soon. So
let me ask you this. Does the Rise of Skywalker take away from the Return of the Jedi? Like, does it take away from their accomplishment? Because when you think about what they did and what happened with Vader and how Vader kills the Emperor and what that's supposed to mean, and then the new writers again come on and they can't come up with an original idea with new characters, so they're just like, we're going to bring these people back. And so now it's just like, by the way, Vader's redemption was sort of meaningless because the Emperor's still alive. He just cloned himself and he's back. So
right, it's just kind of always there. Yeah, I mean that's kind of why so many people have so many problems with that. But I mean, I guess we can save our criticisms for that movie when we get to it.
That's right. Yeah, we're an hour and 10 minutes in. We probably should get this.
Yeah,
moving.
We should probably speed it up. Okay, so now I would say Return of the Jedi to me, if especially since we have to try to spread these out, I'd probably put it as an A. I think the first one, it was the first. It's hard to make an argument that it should be anything other than an S, given what it did, what it meant, got it all started. Empire Strikes Back is to me, just one of the greatest Star Wars movies ever, one of the greatest sequels just in general of all time. The Return of the Jedi, although it's some people's favorite, I wouldn't say it's mine. I'd say Empire is far superior. So I could easily put it as an A. But how are people feeling in the chat? Looks like Templar says A.
He's got an A, and I think we had Unboxing Treasures said an S earlier.
Okay.
Ray said A. I think I can live with it as an A for now, and then we'll see how the rest of it shakes out. So,
okay. Let's try to move through these next few a little bit faster.
All right. So moving on. So now we're into the sequel trilogy. So we are moving into The Force Awakens. We'll do the one-offs last. So The Force Awakens, we always start it here at the S tier, and then we work away. So Tyler, compliment sandwich.
Well, I mean, it definitely has some amazing visual effects. I think the acting overall is pretty good. I did like Daisy Ridley in the role. I thought she was good. I think the pacing is actually pretty good. It's a lot of fun movie that it feels like rolls along on its own very well, which I like. Introduction of BB-8, kind of just a different take on a little companion droid was terrific, which is really good. Negative, which is a big one, is again, it's just a remake. It's just a remake again of an idea that now they've already done twice. And man, I can't quite fathom why they did that. If it was already a criticism of Return of the Jedi, why are you doing it again? You have an opportunity to do something totally new. But again, did a lot of things right in the movie, but overall the story definitely feels like, it's just a big disappointment there.
Okay, so finish with something strong. Compliment sandwich. We're going.
I guess I said multiple compliments, I guess, beforehand, and then went to my negative. What about you? What are some of your positives?
Okay, so initially I liked the opening scene, with Laura Santeca and Kylo Ren and Poe. Mm-hmm. I love the freezing of the blaster bolts, the sort of stormtrooper, having second thoughts about what he's doing. I kind of really like the way the movie starts. I like that opening scene. Now, again, there are plot holes. Like, why, if Laura Santeca knows this information, do you just murder him on the spot? Why don't you take him prisoner?
Right.
I understand that little things like that are
Yep.
just things that they don't think about. They're just like, and now he's gonna kill him because he's Kylo
Right.
Ren and he's evil.
And the stuff with Finn, it's like, man, another wasted opportunity. We're like, oh, what a great idea. And showing a stormtrooper who's like breaking out of his conditioning and realizing that what he's doing is wrong and wants out of it. And like, oh, so he's really questioning the nature of right and wrong and morality and all that. And probably has a lot of trouble killing stormtroopers. Like, oh, no. He's going to
kill his friends.
He'll kill them indiscriminately. No big deal. It's like that never even happened. That's really confusing because it felt like they were setting up a really cool kind of side plot with that just didn't matter at all. So it's another like criticism. But that opening scene, what with the like the blood on the mask and stuff, so you kind of identify him. Very cool. Yeah.
I love that. So now some negatives, and I have a few. They keep coming and going in my head as I'm just thinking 100 miles an hour. Right. But Han Solo dying, I have no problem with Han Solo dying. Obviously, Harrison Ford is getting old as an actor, and it makes sense for this to be like the leap for Kylo Ren to like formally, get rid of his family and his past and to make that jump.
Yeah.
What I don't like is that the people that we see react to Han's death. Now Chewbacca's there, so I guess that Chewbacca is there. Is Rey, and Rey seems to be like grief stricken, and she's really barely known him. And then we'll get into Last Jedi later, but it's like we don't get to see like Luke. We don't get to see Luke react to to what happened to Han. But and then the second thing is the inconsistent force abilities like between Kylo Ren and Rey. Right. I don't care what anyone else says. We're all entitled to our own opinions on this stuff. And again, we can love Star Wars and still be critical of it. And I think that's where you and I are different than a lot of people. A lot of people just like to, just totally dump on it, like the sequel movies. We like parts of them, but we also get why they're just not written that great objectively. And I think, we can admit that. And one is just the fact that Rey has no force training, didn't even know she was force sensitive until the movie started. Suddenly, she's never been in space. She's the best pilot ever. She's doing things with the Millennium Falcon we never saw Han Solo or anybody else ever do. She is out dueling Kylo Ren. Out dueling him. Right. Now, I don't care what people say about Kylo Ren got blasted by the Bowcaster and he's bleeding and they're trying to show that he's weak. That still doesn't mean that she can out lightsaber a force sensitive Kylo Ren. I just, it's like, it's just, she's brand new to this. She's just starting. She doesn't know anything. And to think that she could then punk him, just doesn't make any sense to me. Where like Kylo Ren has to be saved. It would make more sense if that earthquake saved Rey. Do you know what I mean? Like to me,
exactly.
Yes, that earthquake should have saved Rey's life and given Rey a chance to actually go train to try. And then
when she comes back, and then she can dominate. Because that's the thing about Rey. Because it's like it's easy enough to make the argument that Rey was, not Rey, but Luke was pretty OP pretty quickly, right? He's blocking blasters from the remote like right away. It's not like he did a ton of training on Dagobah, and then he can already
shot though, and Obi-Wan, and he's being helped and guided by Obi-Wan. Yep,
right, exactly. But then he had so many setbacks all the time that showed his weaknesses. When he goes to Dagobah to train. Right, like when he goes to Dagobah to train, he can't lift the ship out, right? It's too heavy, it's too big, and he can't do it. He couldn't believe that Yoda was able to do it. When he goes in the cave, he fails by giving into his anger and fear and killing, the Vader projection that then he sees himself in. Then he goes and fights Vader, and he gets beaten, right? He gets bested and loses his hand, and like that's how the movie ends. It's like, so you see all of this drama unfold where our hero, keeps losing, keeps not being super strong. We see his flaws and his weaknesses, and it makes his redemption and him coming to his full height that much more rewarding because we saw him at his lowest. Whereas Rey, we never see that. Right from her first encounter with Kylo, she just beats him. And then later on, she'll beat him. And then later on, again, she'll beat him. And when she needs to move something with the Force, she can move giant boulders, for the first time. It's just everything comes too easy. And it's like you could have done all that, but you needed to show some progression, some failure, some setbacks, because that's how it works in real life. And that makes the character more identifiable.
Yes. And in the Force Mind Probe, she like resists Kylo Ren and then like beats him and learns stuff about him. And it's like, again, how does she even know how to do that? No one has taught her or told her. And now she's immediately resisting and beating Kylo Ren in those things, who's been training with Luke Skywalker since he was a boy and then training with Snoke. And she's just realizing that she is even Force sensitive and she still doesn't understand.
Like this movie could have been a lot better if essentially everything that happened.
Ray should have been getting beat down during this movie.
Exactly. It's like if everything would have happened, she would have come out on the losing end, right? She faces Kylo and she gets bested in the Earthquake save her. It's like if all that kind of stuff happened, that would have set up for her becoming this OP character, and it would have felt earned, right? As opposed to just she's kind of OP the whole time.
Okay, Unboxing Treasure. She's just more naturally gifted.
Right.
False. We reject that.
So where are people? It seems like a lot of people are saying C. Unboxing Treasure says B. It looks like. I mean, I could definitely see a B or a C. I would say, for the sake of trying to spread things out, I think it's an easy C for me.
I think so too, because I would easily rather watch episode 1 or episode 2 over this movie. And again, it's a newer movie, cool special effects, but even the lightsaber dueling is mediocre. And I get, why, like in some of these sequel movies, again, it's like they're not trained Jedi like they were in the prequels. Right. And the prequels, like they were all super duper trained. In the new movies, no one's really trained. So the lightsaber battles are supposed to be sloppier. And I get that. But that also means they're just like not as fun to watch.
Right. Not as visually appealing because of that. Right. So, that's what makes the prequels so much fun to watch, those duels, is because they're just epic, amazing. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Right. So let's move right along. I say move right along.
I know. We got to.
The Last Jedi. I don't know if there's any reason for me to start this one at an S tier, but.
So, yeah, I mean, definitely not an S or an A. I mean, again, we've kind of hashed this out in the live before. The problem with this movie and the reason it kind of tears the whole fan base apart is that, on the one hand, as I've tried to give my best defense of it, those that have seen the Tuesday lives have seen, right? I've tried to get the best defense that if you could take this as a movie on its own, right, ignoring what came before it, it's actually one of the better crafted storylines, more in line with kind of a typical, cinematic story. The idea that they played on with Luke Skywalker and saying, how on earth can I face down the First Order? But in fact, he does, right? He does face down the First Order, but it's not him. It's the idea of him through his projection. He leaves the shadows and walks through the light, that's symbolized by the fire when he's walking out on Crate. So it's like there's a lot of great moments in there. The problem is that essentially just kind of spits in the face of everything that had come before it, right? That's not the Luke Skywalker that you've right. And that's why, again, as I even said when I was giving this defense, it's like that's why I feel like the fans who have been fans for a long time are right to be angry. I just understand how someone who's newer to Star Wars, or they kind of gotten started with the sequels, could really like the movie, because to you, you're not invested in the characters like that. You haven't spent all this time reading about who these characters are. To you, that's just, that's where the storyline went. For someone who spent decades reading about someone like Luke Skywalker, that's not Luke Skywalker. That's just not the character that we've learned about for 40 years. So it's just, that's what makes it so tragic, so heartbreaking that they went in that direction, that they would allow it to go in that direction is kind of baffling, right? That they would ever allow it to happen.
The memes, there are so many good memes, to go around about this. And like, I love the one, I don't know if you've seen this one on Instagram, where it's like Luke talking to Vader, and Vader's like, I've killed thousands of people. And Luke's like, but there's still good in you. And then Kylo's like, I had a bad dream. And Luke's igniting his lightsaber. Like he's going to kill him.
Right.
It's like, again, that's like the whole point, is like Luke just sees the good in people. And Kylo Ren hadn't even done anything bad yet. He just was having dreams, and like there were visions that maybe he would do something bad. And now suddenly Luke's ready to murder his nephew in his sleep. And it's like, what? Would
Yep.
Luke Skywalker do that? And then rather than try to fix things and make things right, he goes off and, as a hermit to just live and hide and fear. And it's like, I agree. That's just, to me, that's just not Luke Skywalker.
You just butchered his character. And again, there could have been some better ways to even do some of those things. Like with the Kylo Ren thing, I wish like he should never, the idea of him igniting his saber over this kid again, when like, yeah, he could see all the good in Vader, but not in Kylo. It's like, why not have just made it so that he had the thought, just like he mentioned, like just the glimmering thought, but Kylo could sense the thought. And so then Kylo turns over, grabs a saber and turns it on. And like, that's when the fighting starts. It's like, even that would have made more sense.
Yeah, just
than
again,
like,
small little tweaks.
Yep. Then like Luke Skywalker literally like getting ready to kill him. And like the explanation for that is supposed to be too, that, well, with Vader, he could sense that he had the ability to change him, right? That he could actually change him if done right. But with Kylo, he could sense that there's no way that he could. Right. And that was supposed to be the difference, is he's essentially sees another Vader that's going to go on to kill tons of people. Right. Like imagine you have this vision and you see this, this teenager in front of you and you realize like he's going to be Hitler and he's going to go on, he's going to kill millions of people and you could stop it right now. And you realize like there's no way you can turn them, because again, that's what Luke is supposed to sense, that he doesn't have the ability to turn Kylo. But of course, Rey does. Rey's the one, kind of like the new Luke, who can see the good in him and does have the ability to turn him. But still, again, it just doesn't fit the character. It's so heartbreaking when you know Luke and what you saw him become in the original trilogy. It's just
what he was in the books, in all of the expanded
books,
universe
the comics,
books, and Unboxing Treasure says, "Hey, at least we got Mandalorian season 2 finale. Look, we've seen that so many times, and I get choked up like every time I watch that scene. It's just so it's so good. It's literally one of the best Star Wars scenes or like moments, maybe ever.
Right.
Big screen, small screen, maybe ever.
I absolutely love it.
Again, like The Last Jedi, the last criticism I'll get, and we can get this thing moving along, is just, again, like we talk about the storytelling, but like plot holes, man. Luke's projection shows up, and like Luke is in the, he's in the little old abandoned base, and then he goes out, his projection goes out to fight Kylo, and then they're all just sitting there though, and Poe's like, wait, no. He's doing this for a reason.
Right.
We can escape. There's a way out. And it's like, if that's what he was really doing, wouldn't he have been like, I'll go buy you some time.
Right.
Get the out of here. Right. It's
exactly.
Like,
Why didn't he say that?
Oh God, that's just bad writing.
Yeah. That's very disappointing.
Little things like that just drive me absolutely crazy. The slow motion chase, boy, that was pretty boring.
Right.
Again, visually stunning, blah, 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 blah. I get it. But for me, if there's a movie that fits into the D category, it's The Last Jedi for me. And Templar says it's a D. It's a double D. It's all the D. It loves the D. It's a D.
Okay, so we're going with D, because to me, this next one that we're going to get to, go ahead and we can pull up the next movie, The Rise of Skywalker. This one to me is an easy D. To me, there's kind of no question about it. To me, like, there are cool moments. The story, they just kind of like, at least The Last Jedi, right? Like for The Force Awakens, kind of all the sequels, again, like watching them, but it's just, if we're ranking them based on how we like them, which is what this is, it doesn't mean that we hate these movies. We still watch them all, right? But it's like, The Force Awakens was at least had really good pacing, was a fun movie. It just was so derivative. That was kind of the huge knock. The Last Jedi, a fun movie in its own right. Problem is, it essentially abandons everything that came before it. So to anyone who's been a long-term fan of Star Wars, just an absolute spit in the face. But at least it was trying to do something original. I guess you could give it that. But then The Rise of Skywalker just tried to undo very haphazardly everything that was done before it in a way that was just so abundantly obvious. It's just constantly taking you out of the movie. Characters that just come back out of nowhere with no setup whatsoever. Force ghosts that can suddenly just manipulate objects because, again, you just want to make sure that they can catch the lightsaber instead of throwing it. To me,
that was introduced in The Last Jedi with Yoda.
Right, but it's just, to me, the scene was so cheesy, right? It's like, and he catches it, and he comes out smiling. Again, they just needed to undo everything that had happened before it. So, I mean, to me, it's also just a D. It's just too bad. If they wanted to go in another direction, they could have, but man, they could have done it with more tact instead of just so blatantly and obviously trying to undo everything that just happened. So that's my opinion, though. We can see what everyone else in the chat says. Justin, if you want to make a case for it being somewhere else, looks like Templar Art says D as well.
Yeah, so I am going to make a pitch for this to be much higher. And so, yes. And so I am going to pitch this as an A to B movie, The Rise of Skywalker.
No way. Really?
Yes. And
are you kidding?
Mainly for, no, I'm not kidding. Mainly
You're joking.
For its entertainment value. Now, because again, like they brought back Palpatine. Do I like that they just brought back Palpatine instead of maybe making Kylo Ren the main villain? No, I don't like that. But they did it, and I enjoyed Palpatine. Again, I look back at the original trilogy, and I didn't like Palpatine that much. He was over the top, overacted, and then the way that JJ cut the scenes, the way Palpatine acted, everything to me was just so much better. Like Palpatine was dark. He was menacing. And I actually like that. And I wish he was like that in the prequels, after I have seen this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, there's just big epic scenes. And now but I'm not going to say it's not without its flaws, like any movie. The one thing is the lack of consequences, the fake outs. I just can't stand that.
Yeah.
Maybe once, but I mean, for example, that scene on Pisana where Kylo is going after Rey with the TIE fighter. And again, it's like, yeah, he could just shoot her, but he doesn't. Instead, he tries to run her over and she just slices his wing off. His TIE fighter explodes. And then he just comes walking out and it's like, okay, like he's literally not even harmed, not even like his arm's broken, not even like he's dead, but like he's just totally fine. Yeah. And then they have the tug of war over the ship. And then she accidentally is so angry at him and using so much power that she uses the Force lightning. I actually kind of like that scene. And I know a lot of people are up and down on it.
But see, this is another thing where, again, like if you're mad at The Last Jedi for not making any sense, for not kind of following lore and stuff, well, then that scene should piss you off too, right? You have people who have been, Sith and members of the dark side studying the Force for decades and decades to try to understand how to wield Force lightning. And then she just kind of does it accidentally because she was angry and then blows it up. And it's like,
well,
okay,
again, she is also genetically related to Palpatine, one of the strongest, if not strongest, Dark Lords of history, has literally his genetics.
Right, but still had to study the Force in order to be able to wield Force lightning, right?
Sure, but I mean,
didn't just do it accidentally.
Yeah, but I still think like that's a deeper like pull or problem than like some of the other easy problems. Like,
sure.
like the Last Jedi, if we're just talking about scene, like I like scenes, but they have to just make sense. So it's like, remember in The Last Jedi, there's that the throne room scene when they kill Snoke. Mm-hmm. And like a lot of people are like, yeah, that sucked. Like Snoke, they're building Snoke up, and he's the new he's the new Palpatine. Point of him, then? And then we see him, and you're like, oh, look at this big Hugh Hefner type guy, and then he's just dead. He's just dead 2 seconds later. But it's like, okay, if that's the way they're going to go, they're going to go with it. But then they have that fight. And have you ever watched a video like where they break down how horrendously choreographed that fight is?
Yeah, like there's guys just like spinning away when they have an opening to be able to hit, it's
unbelievable. And like those are the things that bother me. It's like, okay, if we're gonna get into a deep Star Wars debate over like the nature of the use of Force lightning, right? That's a deeper Star Wars debate. Versus like going to The Last Jedi and being like, this fight scene was ridiculous because like the guys are just spinning around and swinging and hitting their own guy when the Rey is right there, and then they dance away. It's like, that's just dumb.
I get, but to me, I would make the same argument for The Rise of Skywalker. The duel with her and Kylo, you slow that down, same thing. It's not very good. The choreography is not very good. It's way too slow. It's kind of dumb. It's nothing when you're so used to the prequels at this point and what the lightsaber duels were like, they just feel lackluster at that point. But no, I get you. I mean, there are definitely some awesome moments in it that I really like. I agree that like, I thought Palpatine was cool. I hate that they brought him back the way they did because there was no setup for it, which would have been great if it would have led into it. Instead, it's just kind of like he's back, and it does.
That had been even teased in The Last Jedi. It
right.
would have been better. Yep.
And so it's like, that's kind of unfortunate. The Force lightning thing, okay, and then doesn't really come back into play. Then it's like they had the opportunity to kill Chewbacca, which would have been a great, impactful moment, but they can't even let it hang for 2 seconds. They have to like immediately show you that Chewbacca's alive. Them like finding the dagger to figure out where to go, which was just kind of haphazard how they stumbled upon it, and then happened to be in the right location to like line it up to know
right distance. Yeah, it's like that. Well, that really, and
it's all just nonsense.
You can look at that in like the writers, I think, will even say that like it's meant to be like a Goonies reference, and it's like, okay, but that just is dumb. Like, it just doesn't make sense, because that wreckage could have moved with any given wave at any given second.
Right.
And not to mention that you'd have to be standing in whatever angle for that to line up. Like, do I like that? No, it's dumb. Right. It's dumb. But I don't know. I just like the epic feel to it. I like a lot of the scenes, and despite the fact that like in so many other, it's kind of like Attack of the Clones for me, where it's like Attack of the Clones, the writing is bad, the romance is bad, Hayden Christensen's acting. I know there's so many Hayden Christensen defenders out there, and he's coming back in the Obi-Wan series, and like I'm excited about it, despite the fact that I don't think he's a good actor. I don't think he was a good actor in the prequels.
But he is now he is Darth Vader.
And so I want him to come back, you know?
Yeah, me too.
And so it's like, the nature, of the ships, the battle on Exegol, where at one point nobody can get there. Suddenly she just leaves the trail, and now 1,000 ships can get there. And, Return of the Jedi, no one would answer the call, but now this time Lando's in charge and 1,000 ships show up. It's like, all that stuff is, and we're to the point now where this is Disney Star Wars, right? And I think we have to, that this is not George Lucas Star Wars, it's Disney Star Wars. And so when I look at The Force Awakens, and when I look at The Last Jedi, and when I look at The Rise of Skywalker, I'm the most satisfied watching The Rise of Skywalker. And if right now I could grab a beer and I could watch any of the sequels tonight, I'm going to watch The Rise of Skywalker almost every single time.
Okay, but are you going to watch that over The Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones?
Maybe. The answer is maybe. The answer is maybe. It depends. Now, maybe even over Return of the Jedi, and that could just be my bias as a younger person, and that's an older movie. But I just think the Rise of Skywalker is just, if anything, it's entertaining. I just think it's busy, it's hectic. I get that. It's planet to planet to planet to side quest to side quest to side quest.
To MacGuffin, to MacGuffin, to MacGuffin, to plot convenience.
But to get here, you got to get the knife. But to get the knife, you got to go get the ship. And then they're on Pisana in the chase, and then there's an explosion, and they happen to shoot in this one little sink field where they happen to fall down right where the body is with the dagger. And it's like, it's plot convenience after plot convenience. If I'm teaching a class on like good writing, like, hey, you want to be a writer like George R. R. Martin or like Brandon Sanderson, watch The Rise of Skywalker and don't do that. Like, watch The Rise of Skywalker and then read a Game of Thrones, or watch The Rise of Skywalker and then read The Way of Kings. And you'll see what good writing is. But when it comes to movies, I think we just have to understand that Star Wars movies, sci-fi movies, are just not going to be that. Right.
Well, and this is more of a fantasy, but I get what you mean. But to me, when I'm looking at that list, between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, I mean, both the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones have moments that I just consider like the height of Star Wars. Epic, unbelievable. Again, the Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Darth Maul duel. There is nothing as cool as that in The Rise of Skywalker. Right, the Yoda versus Dooku, or the Geonosis battle. To me, like, that is way cooler than anything in The Rise of Skywalker. So I have a hard time putting it, for sure, to me, not an A. But I mean, I guess if based on your arguments, if you thought maybe a B, but to me, I'd probably put it as a C or D. But
so I would say I it's too entertaining to be a D to me. Like, I could live with a B or a C rating.
Okay, so let's say between B or C, what does the chat feel? Does anyone have any opinions there between like a B or a C?
I think it
because
probably
again,
goes in a C. From basically what I've been seeing in the chat, it seems like I think a C is a fair rating for
a
that.
C, maybe a C is a fair one. Okay, okay, you made a good impassioned defense, though. I like it because I do agree with you. There are a lot of very cool moments. I just have a real hard time putting them above, the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones.
And you see, Unboxing Treasures has it as a
he
B,
agrees.
and
He thinks it should be higher. Yep.
And it's kind of the same thing like The Last Jedi. Like he says, it's a fun movie if you disregard the history. And I think it's like, I'm not trying to disregard the history totally, but like it is entertaining. And I saw it like 4 or 5 times in the theater because like
we saw it together and it was fun.
Yeah, we did see it. It's like, it is a fun movie. And that's one of those movies when you go back, you're like, oh boy, they really did this and they did that, or they didn't do this. And you're like, boy, that dagger thing actually is pretty dumb when you think about it. And you're just kind of like, yeah, they're on like 50 different planets. And it's Venge Quest after Venge Quest, and they could have used those times to like develop characters more.
You're right.
Versus just having again Finn run around after Rey going Rey the whole time. It's like you could have had some impactful emotional scenes with Finn and with Rey or Poe or whoever.
A lot of writing sins that occurred kind of throughout the sequels, unfortunately.
But whereas some of the other movies, action things don't quite stack up to make up for it, I feel like The Rise of Skywalker does. And even though the ending to me feels like a total, and people make jokes about this too, I think Ryan George did too, it feels like a total Avengers Endgame, right? Everybody unite at the end, Falcon on your left. It really felt like that when all hope is lost. I still like get chills when like he turns and the music kicks up and like there's 1,000 ships coming out of hyperspace. And then like all of a sudden the battle restarts and it's like, I get chills when I watch that moment, even though I'm like, I should not love this.
Right.
And I just do.
Yeah. And the Palpatine Force lightning was really cool. Well, that scene looks really cool.
Suddenly he's Thor, right? He went from being able to cast a little bit of lightning to he's Thor. But like the sound, you know what I'm talking about? When the lightning hits, the boom, and it's awesome. It's an awesome scene. Does it make sense? Should he be able to shut down 1,000 ships with his Force lightning? No, probably not.
That's why. Have you ever seen the fan edit that people have done to make it the ending better with Rey, where she has both lightsabers and then all the Jedi appear and they push and like in it. Man, does that make it that much more impactful and believable? But that suddenly he just explodes. Not just that he shoots him and kills himself with his lightning kind of again, right? But that she really classic Phelps. He's just always doing that. But that he just has she has all the Jedi behind him and like is pulling from the energy and the power from all these. Like, oh man, that little addition would have to me vastly improved it. But still very cool. Again, just to reiterate, as we have multiple times, we're not ranking our favorite to worst movies ever. We're just trying to rank Star Wars movies. We like them all. It's just if we had to rank them, this is where we're falling. So
right.
But yeah. So to me, I get you'd want it a little higher. I'd say a C or a D is probably good. I mean, I'm sorry, a B or C is probably good. Looks like we're falling on C. Let's get to the other ones and see if we want to adjust it.
Okay, so here's going to be a quick one. This one's going to take 10 seconds, I think. Let's go with the Clone Wars next before we get into the other one.
Yeah, clearly an S, no doubt about it. No, I mean to me this is my least favorite one. Has some cool of the films. Has some cool moments. Absolutely does some cool stuff, but the pacing you can really feel that it was meant to be. A TV show. It was meant to be episodes that were stitched together. You definitely feel that. The animation, even for the time, to me was a little subpar. Could have been a lot cooler.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yep. And but still, there are some awesome things about this. Some cool storylines that they're doing. You get the introduction of Ahsoka Tano, which is awesome. You get a young
Ahsoka, of course.
Yep, which is really cool. You honestly see a more likable side of Anakin in this than you really had at any point. But for me, I would rank it. Looks like a lot of people in chat are thinking it's more of a C for them. To me, I would rank this as an easy D. But what are you feeling?
Yeah, no, I think it's an easy D. And again, it's fine. We've seen it. Right. We do trivia on it. We've tested each other on it. And but even as far as animated movies go, it's like, I mean, I think there are better Pixar movies, way better Pixar movies than this movie. And for Star Wars movies, I think it's definitely the worst. It's like I don't hate it, right? I think
No.
you say the same thing. We don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's just not very good.
Yeah, it's just, I would essentially, again, if I had to choose, I would watch any other movie up there before that one. I still watch that one and still will continue to watch it. It's just, like we said, if we're sitting down, if I have to choose between all of them, this would be the last one that I chose.
Yeah.
And again, just a lot of it because it seemed like it was planned to be a series. And you can really feel that. It's too bad it wasn't made just as a series because it would have flowed a lot better. So it didn't work as well as a movie, in my opinion. And again, the animation is just too bad. I think it would have been cooler if they would have done something more like even what they've done with Galaxies of Adventure, or whatever they call it, that one cartoon series where it's more anime-like and more stylized and artistic. I think something like that would have been cool, like a more anime-style version of the Clone Wars. But instead, this just comes off as a little plastic and rubbery to me. The animation doesn't feel great, and story and pacing struggles a little bit. But so again, still a fun movie though, still a bunch of cool stuff in it. But all right, Solo.
Yeah, so I mean, I would agree. We get Ahsoka Tano, and there's some fun moments. We see, we get Dooku, we get Christopher Lee as Dooku, and we get
Asajj Ventress.
Yeah, we get Asajj Ventress, and we get introduced to some cool characters, and that's great. Yep. But as far as Star Wars films, it's definitely for me a D class as well. So, okay. And yeah, let's see. All right, here we go. Solo.
Solo. So I know you're a big fan of Solo. So where are you feeling Solo, given that we know you're a Solo guy?
Okay, so again, Solo, I think it is a good movie. I really like Solo. I think is it Aiden Aldenreich? Is that how you say his name? I
think so.
He's in a hard place because Harrison Ford is still alive. And so people, just want to basically tell him, hey, you're not Harrison Ford. He's like, yeah, I know. I'm also 50 years younger than Harrison Ford, playing Harrison Ford before Harrison Ford was even himself in A New Hope. He's a young child Harrison Ford, basically.
Right. And so you think Disney should have killed Harrison Ford before allowing this movie to take place?
That's obviously where I'm going with this. If Disney just kills Harrison Ford, then he's the only living Han Solo, and everybody is fine with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, you live, you learn,
Yeah, you do live, you learn. But it is a good movie. It's a fun movie. Emilia Clarke is great, I think. I think she's really good in the movie.
A lot of people have said they didn't like her. I didn't really feel that. Like, they said they hated her role, and I've heard a lot of people complain about it. I didn't really notice anything. I thought she was just fine in it.
Yeah, I liked her. I love Donald Glover as Lando. I really almost too much. I like him too much. I think Donald Glover is great. Woody Harrelson was great as Tobias Beckett.
I actually really liked Woody Harrelson because, as Donald Glover as Lando, I think we talked about before. It's like it's a bit over the top, but I like it. It's like the right amount of over the top. Yeah. Like how he's doing the accent and stuff. It feels like it's a bit much, but to me, like, I just like it. I like Donald Glover. I think
Billy D. Williams, Lando, like being that way when he was younger, though.
Exactly. Like you could kind of feel that. So like I liked it. But then Woody Harrelson, I just felt like he was great. I really, really liked his character. I thought it was fantastic. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed this movie.
So the only thing I would say that I didn't care for about this movie is their attempt to answer questions that nobody asked and nobody cared about. Right. And that's the only thing, is that Ron Howard directed Solo, and Ron Howard is obviously a very famous, very, very good director. But it's like they tried to give us, like, why is Han Solo's last name Solo? Where it's like, did anyone even want to know that? We all just kind of assumed his last name was Solo.
Well, and then they butcher how they do it because it's just some dude who says it.
And then it's like, his name is Han, and he goes to, be recruited into the Empire, into the Imperial Navy or whatever it was. And they're just like, well, what's your last name? What's your people? I don't have people. Oh, so you're Solo. You're Han Solo. So some dude from the Empire just randomly made it up. That's the backstory for Han Solo's name. That's stupid. It's way worse than having no backstory at all because no one cared. No one was asking about his last name. His blaster, the DL-44 blaster, an iconic blaster. Did anyone care, or was anyone asking about where he got that from? Was anyone
could have just bought it at a store somewhere, right?
And the answer that the movie gives you is that somebody gave it to him.
Right. Yep. and then he kept it from there on out.
And then
That's just been his blaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah. The thing is, though, is so many origin stories do that it's like, yeah, I don't get it. It always feels so contrived, and yet so many of them do it. So Jedi John is saying Solo is his least favorite of all of them.
Well, tell us why, Jedi John. Put in the comments. Give us a couple of one or two things that you don't like about it.
Yeah, what didn't work for you?
I liked the Kessel Run. I liked the Dedrick games or the Sabacc games. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was action packed. I liked how they did the opening crawl, but not a crawl, but use the same text. I thought that was a nice touch. I love how the movie started with the music and the engine going, and I just really like the movie. I just think Ron Howard tried to explain too many things about Han Solo's past that just no one was asking and no one gave a rip about. And I just don't know why they did that.
The Kessel Run, what's that monster's name that lived inside the Maelstrom? What was that thing called? Suma Verminoth. Yeah, that's right.
You know why I know it's the Suma Verminoth?
Well, because you've had this movie. I'll have to learn that very soon when it's my turn to get quizzed on that.
We talk about our memorization techniques a lot during our trivia lives. And so I imagine that big tentacle monster wearing a cap and gown because he graduated summa cum laude. And then there is a little rat on top of his hat, a vermin. And then I imagine it being very cold behind them, like on Hoth. And so I have the Suma Verminoth. Yep. Suma
Perfect.
Verminoth. And so that's how I get there.
I love the look of the Suma Verminoth. I thought it looked sweet. And when it's getting ripped apart in the Maelstrom, really cool. Like the skin's being ripped off and everything. A very, very cool moment. So yeah, a lot of moments to like there. Templar's saying, he hates the forced nostalgia. And kind of the look at this moments and stuff. So yeah, I get it. But Jedi John, we haven't heard from what his gripes are, because I get it. There are definitely some problems with that movie. But so Joe, where are you feeling that this one should be ranked?
To be honest, I'd have this as a solid B. I think Solo's a solid B. Now I could live with it as a C. If generally speaking, the chat or you were like, "Wow, this is a C movie." The only thing I don't really like about this movie is some of the forced, retcon explanations, reveals, if you want to call them, whatever, of the things we talked about. And that's it. Otherwise, I actually really like Solo. I think it's a lot of fun. And, Paul Bettany, of course, who doesn't love Paul Bettany? Paul Bettany's in it, his Dryden boss.
Yep. I love Paul Bettany ever since watching him in Wimbledon. You ever seen Wimbledon, that tennis movie?
No, I have not.
You never seen that? Oh my God. Paul Bettany is he's the man in that movie. Jedi John did a drive-by ranking. Just pops in, hated this movie, pops right out.
Boom.
He's gone.
This movie sucked.
So what are we thinking? Because I was kind of thinking maybe in the B or C range. Justin's kind of thinking a solid B. What about chat? Anyone have any opinions? Well, it looks like Solo Templar said he thinks that should be a B. So I guess if you guys both think it's a B, I could be down for that. I was kind of maybe leaning towards C, but again, I did enjoy it. I could see it as a B.
Okay, right, I'm going to take that as your sign off to leave it as a B. I'm going to leave it as a B, and there we go. We only now have one more movie. We are almost done. We are almost done. Though we're not doing any of these specials that you see here.
Yep.
Our last movie is Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
And you've already got it in the right spot. That's it. Good night, everybody. Woo!
I tell you what, I think Tyler and I are, again, both very high on Rogue One.
I love Rogue One. Yeah. To me, this is of the newer movies and stuff that was made, just absolutely great. Very tough for me to find a lot of flaws in this. Of course, there are, right? There are some problems with the movie. Overall, though, man, very good. I love kind of the idea of having a war style movie. K2SO, I thought was just to me the best droid in the entire series. Was absolutely hilarious.
K2SO is so great.
He was just hilarious in it.
He's the best.
Chirrut Imwe was such a cool, force sensitive type character. being blind and moving and doing things in ways we had never seen before. And then, of course, just the payoff with Vader at the end is, to me, it's the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It was so
the hallway scene.
It was just so amazing.
Good.
And it's like, then we see the Luke scene. And so now we have like the father son comparable scenes and, the two different Star Wars things. I just, man, that Vader scene is so freaking cool. And I just love how they just don't overdo it. It's like it's so much buildup to that moment, and the payoff is perfect. And like Unboxing Shed says, one of the greatest Star Wars movies of all time. Again, I'm right there. Like, to me, it's just one of my favorites. I have a hard time.
Potentially the greatest, and right. So again, we've talked about the hallway scene before, and we've released a few short clips bashing people that didn't like that scene.
It's still, I can't even comprehend it.
Well, because again, like we've talked about this where you'd say, like, people say, well, Vader's, fighting Obi-Wan like this. And I'm supposed to think that right before that, he's doing this crazy hallway scene. And when you and I talk, I say, what did Vader do that's crazy?
Right.
Is Vader jumping around like Yoda or like Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith? Is he for no reason as a 70-year-old guy, like doing a backflip off the wall? No, Vader is doing this. Boom, 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 boom. Force push, boom, boom,
he's just
boom.
Walking down that.
Push, swipe, choke, boom, boom, boom. That's all he's doing. He is not jumping around like an insane person. He's not doing backflips.
He's not fighting another Force user, right?
Yeah,
like, say, Obi-Wan.
Right. He's not fighting a Force user. He's just throwing people around and swiping his lightsaber. That's all Vader's doing. So, like, I thought they did that scene magnificently. The way the breathing comes in right before he ignites the saber.
Yep.
And then how they are
the saber ignite.
And the people who are on the ship screaming for their lives. That's some of the best acting in Star Wars. Because great. They are like blood curdling screaming, like they know they are about to get murdered.
Again,
whereas like you don't get that raw emotion in a lot of Star Wars movies. And like I felt it there. God,
exactly.
Like how terrifying that would be.
Exactly, because you never really have seen that until that moment where all these other times when they're igniting their sabers, so often it's against another Force user. There's someone there who's brave and going against them. But it's like, what if really Darth Vader just walked down a hallway full of normies? Like, yeah, he would be, the scariest villain you've ever seen in your entire life. Just this indestructible force that even shooting all these lasers at and stuff, it just doesn't matter. You can't touch him. And he's just slowly walking like the villains so often do in these horror movies, just absolutely ripping through people. And the way they're banging on the glass, screaming for help, the way they can't get the door open, have to hand it off. And then he just shoves the saber through, gets the door open. Like, oh my God, it's so good. It's one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen in my life.
So well shot. Yes.
Yep. So to me, that's just has to be up there. So in the chat, we've got a bit of an argument. Like, is it better than Return of the Jedi, though? If we look at how we've ranked these thus far, because now we've got all the movies out there. Do we feel like we need to do any shuffling? Because now we do see we've got.
So I would say no. I don't think we have to do any shuffling other than, to me, the question is Rogue One an A tier or an S tier? I think that's the argument that we're having. And to me, Rogue One reminds me of, on the Marvel side, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Right. Because the Guardians of the Galaxy came out and really not a lot of people knew who the Guardians were. Their comics hadn't even been out that long. And I had never heard of them. And then I saw Guardians of the Galaxy and it became one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. Mm-hmm. But just because it's just a different cast of characters. And that's what we got with Rogue One, a different cast of characters, and they all have their own things. And just some of the shots, again, with, director Krennic and Galen Erso in the beginning. Yeah.
Erso's another great villain.
I think Andor does a great job. I think, Diego Luna, I think, who plays Cassian Andor. And of course, we're getting an Andor miniseries soon, which is filming now. I actually think that's going to be a good spy thriller. Like, I would say that Falcon and the Winter Soldier was like the spy thriller for the new Marvel shows. Mm-hmm. I didn't really love that one. I loved WandaVision and I love Loki. Loki is so great. Oh my God. I think Loki is borderline better than WandaVision, although WandaVision had just so much mystery, but it's like the spy thriller. I hope that Andor is a really, really strong spy thriller, but I tell you what, I think Rogue One is a solid A class. I think it's a solid A class. I think to probably put it on par with A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back might be unfair.
I could see that. I could see that. I mean, again, I kind of feel like Unboxing Track, for some reason, the movie really speaks to me. I just really liked it. I liked the feel of it. I loved the build up for the ending. I could sit and watch the whole movie just to get that feeling that I get every time that ending segment happens. So yeah, and like he's talking about the way it elicits emotion, the way that everyone just dies in the end, all sacrificing themselves for the mission. Then the handing over of the plans to Leia, who then just what is this? It's hope. Like that, it just chokes me up every dang time. It's so good.
We get to see Princess Leia, even though they're digitally animated. We get to see Grand Moff Tarkin. It's like, yeah.
So to me, there's just so much to like about this movie that, yeah, if this were my personal one, to me, it's an easy S. But yeah, if we're trying to weigh this with the history of the movies as well, the impact they had, it probably shouldn't be ranked alongside Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. I could see moving it to an A along with Return of the Jedi. Again, Return of the Jedi is a lot of people's favorite Star Wars movie of all time. So I'd say having that.
Mark Ellis is from the Schmoedown. Mark Ellis talks constantly about how much he loves Return of the Jedi.
Yep. And I'd say with those, it's like, yeah, you could interchange any one of the movies that we have in the S or the A. And I think those would probably switch a lot for a lot of people. But I think I'm pretty comfortable where they all are. For sure, Return of the Jedi and Rogue One, they have to at least be an A or an S. Same with Revenge of the Sith and New Hope, Empire. It's got to be an A or S. It's just kind of where do you preferentially put it? So I don't know. I think for just kind of doing this off the cuff, that looks pretty solid. How do we feel? And yeah, it looks like a giant F that we just created.
It does look like a giant F.
Yeah.
So again, I think we have all compromised pretty well. We have discussed the strengths and weaknesses of each movie. So our S tier movies are Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars A New Hope, and The Empire Strikes Back. In the A tier, we have Return of the Jedi and Rogue One. B tier, we have Episode 1, we have The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, Solo. C tier, we have The Rise of Skywalker and The Force Awakens. And D tier, we have The Last Jedi and The Clone Wars. I think that's probably a pretty solid. I think each of us would maybe tweak it a little individually.
Yeah, of course. And honestly, these change over time. It's fun to watch people do rankings. There are some YouTubers and stuff where they had ranked the movies, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And now it's they rank them again. And it changes because, yeah, how you view these things over time after thinking about them more, learning more about them. It's sometimes your views change. But from where we sit right now and after talking with you, where we're kind of debating back and forth, talking the pros and cons, talking with the chat, seeing people's opinions. I feel like this was a pretty good, like you said, compromise on all these movies to where I'm pretty comfortable with kind of where they all fell. It was fun.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid ranking. So I can't believe we're over 2 hours. So let's wrap this up with one question. One question for all of you out there. Put in the comments down below. I want to know which movie, because to me, this is what's really going to tell me what you really love.
You're right.
Which Star Wars movie have you seen the most? Which one have you watched the most? So let us know in the comments which Star Wars movie you have seen the most. Tyler, which one have you seen the most?
Which one have I seen the most? It's definitely going to be the prequels because that's what got me started in Star Wars. That was just the age when I was getting into it. And so for me, again, my love of Revenge of the Sith, it's probably been either Revenge of the Sith or maybe even Attack of the Clones. Kind of same thing you said. When the Yoda thing came out, I started watching that movie over and over. But then Revenge of the Sith came out and I liked it even more. And so I probably watched it 6 million times. So if I had to guess, again, I don't know because I've seen them all so many times.
Right.
But if I had to guess, it's probably Revenge of the Sith that I've seen the most.
Yeah, for me, it's almost surely Attack of the Clones. I have almost surely seen Attack of the Clones more than any other Star Wars movie. I mean, there are times if I just randomly one day, if I come home and no one's home and I grab a beer or something, I will, if I'm turning the TV to watch Star Wars, I'll watch the last 40 minutes of Attack of the Clones. That's basically, that's one of the scenes I will just cut to. I will watch the Geonosis scene. and then the battle scene in the hangar. And
but that's the key on why we didn't rank it up, because you got to fast forward to those final 40 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and again, there are still some fun moments in the beginning.
Of course.
You know, there are.
Yeah, of course there are.
But the last 45 minutes of Attack of the Clones is absolutely
just epic. Absolutely epic. Yep. Everything revolving around Geonosis was just amazing. Yep.
And there you go. Unboxing Treasure says he has seen The Empire Strikes Back the most. Again, I think probably for Star Wars, objectively, it's probably the best Star Wars movie.
Oh, I would say if we were ranking this simply, because again, our criteria is a bit fuzzy. If you're ranking this based on overall, like objectively the best movie, like what is the best written, the best paced, the best acted, the best overall story, to me, that's Empire Strikes Back is absolutely there. Again, it's considered one of the greatest sequels of all time, right? I mean, that was just an unbelievably good movie. Yeah. So yeah, watching that one a million times, I can understand. I was really pumped to get to do Empire Strikes Back recently, yesterday for trivia, because I got to watch it a bunch of times this past week. And it's just a great movie, man. I love watching that one. I love that. I mean, just from the way it starts off, I have so many memories of seeing Hoth for the first time and the Tauntaun. So I get like really nostalgic when I watch that one just right from the get-go. It's so much fun.
It always reminds me of the Family Guy Star Wars mock movies that the episodes they've done. Oh, God. It's so good. But anyways, that's it, guys. We're running over 2 hours. We're going to end this thing. That is our collective, Tyler and I, with you, the chat. With the chat. So if you're watching on replay, let us know in the comments down below everything. Let us know where you'd rank every movie if you want. Go ahead and list them out, right?
Which ones did we get right? Which ones did we get wrong, in your opinion? Yeah, let us know.
Well, we got them all right objectively. But, of course but feel free to let us know what your opinion is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment down below.
Yeah, please do.
And I think that's it for us. Thank you guys so much for hopping on. We appreciate it so much. And don't forget, Star Wars trivia this coming Tuesday night, Return of the Jedi. It's my turn to answer questions. Tyler's going to be asking them, and I can't wait for that.
It's going to be fun. Hope to see you all there.
All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you.